All right, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. From like AA.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Bridge.
Hi, Bridge. Hi, Bridge.
What?
What? No, thanks everybody for coming. Really appreciate it. We started this a number of years ago, just sort of giving an update on the status of the town, where things are, how the last year was, how things are currently going, and what we look to do in the future. So this should take about 30 minutes. As we go, if you have questions, just hold them to the end, and we'll jump in and get started. I do want to take just a really quick moment and thank Chair Randall for joining us, local elected official. And Laura Tacroni, who's her aide. And then all the highly paid members of the Middleburg Town Council.
And she's an elected official of what?
She's the chair of the Board of Supervisors for Loudoun County.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it took me a while to actually think how to say that. All right, so I always love just to start with a photo, like a slide like this, really sort of embodies what we love about our community and what makes this a special place to be. I've said it a million times, you could rebuild Middleburg anywhere you want to, but if you don't have the people in the community, it's just brick and buildings. So this is why we're here, this is why we serve, and this is why we do what we do. And you know, we love and cherish every single person on that slide. Okay, this is the mission statement for the town of Middleburg. It hasn't changed, but you know, really to help run the town in a fiscally responsible way, to sustain our historic character, natural beauty, and small town charm. That was from 4th of July just this year, and I thought, wow, that's really awesome. Okay, so this is what we'll go over tonight. The current fiscal status, this updates and status of the town hall projects, completion of several key projects in our long-term planning efforts, town operations, public safety, policing, economic development, and then engagement in and around our community. Then we have a couple of announcements at the end, which are pretty exciting. Okay, fiscal health. This is always the big one up front. Hey, Betsy. Okay, so we finished 2022, which ended June 30th. Remember, our fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th, in a very strong position. We were actually able to reduce the real estate property tax rate this year. As many of you know, our assessments went up substantially. Some of the assessments went up by as much as 22 to 24% year over year. So we reduced the tax rate, and the vast majority, I want to say almost all of the real estate, residential real estate properties in town, with the exception of a small percentage, had a net property bill decrease from the town. We ended the year of 2022 with a net operating surplus of $1.2 million. And for a town whose total expenses on an annual basis is about $3.5 million, that's pretty good. So, and especially coming out of COVID, not really knowing what the economic future was going to look like, we're very happy with how that turned out. So the fiscal reserve in the general fund, we grew our reserve by about $1 million. So right now we have $7,500,000 of cash reserve on hand. And that is not in the utility fund, that is in the general fund. And again, that's on town expenses of about $3.5 million per year. This is a quick breakout of where the revenues came from, and you can absolutely see here what COVID did to us. I mean, it was a significant impact on the town, since about 70% of our revenue is derived from some sort of tax on tourism, whether it's TOT, which is the hotel tax, or the meals tax, or the portion of the business license tax. So, but we had, and the council had worked very hard years before that to build up a strong fiscal reserve so that we didn't have to reduce any town services, and we could do things like the meal vouchers for the restaurants and the subsidy for the retail businesses who got hit the most by COVID. 2021, we had a good bounce back, so we were at about 3 million and change. We projected 2022, again, we're coming out of COVID, vaccines were just coming out, we really did not know what 2022 was going to look like. So we pretty much just modeled 21, but this is the actual, and we just finished our audit, so we came in about $1.2 million, $1.3 million better than we were projecting. So I think from a town, a community perspective, we were very happy, but that is owed to the restaurants, the business owners, Salamander, our regional partners that visit Loudon, the county, but again, it all goes back to the citizens here in town that make this such a special place to live and that people want to connect with when they come here. So that is as much to do with the people who live here as anything else. This is our budget for 2023. There's some economic headwinds, inflation's going up, there's talk of recession, so we thought it prudent to sort of budget a little bit lower than we did in 2022, just to be as realistic as possible. Okay, other financial activities. As many of you remember, in 2018, we created a financial strategic finance review committee with past bankers and investment folks and accountants to help give us recommendations on how better to run the town operations and the finances of the town. So one of the things they recommended over a year ago was to take out low-interest, long-term bonded debt to help pay for the town hall project. So we did that. Our first bonds were, debt was $8 million at 2.7%, and the second bond we took out was at $2.5 million at 2.5%. Looking at where inflation is today, the borrowing cost, if we had to do that now, would be probably double. So the town, and these are fixed rate bonds for the next 20 years. So it's one of those things you don't know at the time, but we hit it just right in terms of issuing that debt. We've also updated our investment policy. So we have a $7.5 million strategic reserve. We are using that and investing it in certain safe funds so that it grows on its own while it's still there for our rainy day needs. But the biggest thing here I think the council did at the recommendation of the Strategic Finance Committee was we set a fiscal reserve policy of 125% of annual expenditures. So what that basically means is we have to have cash in the bank or in a safe investment at least 125% of our annual expenditures that the council cannot touch unless there is a vote to unlock it for some specific reason. And again, the biggest reason is 70% of our revenue comes from from our tourism-based economy. And Salamander has an incident. There's the next COVID. And those things stop on a dime. Where's the revenue going to come from? So what we wanted to always ensure was that we would be able to fully staff and operate the town, not reduce services to the citizens or the businesses, and actually be able to do things to help people in hard times, even if those revenues fell off. On average, a typical fiscal reserve policy for a typical town is probably 10%.
To 30, yeah.
Yeah, 10 to 20%, maybe 30. We're 125. So right now, what that basically says is, of the $7.5 million in cash we have, 4.5 of it may not be touched for anything unless by vote of council for a specific need. And we are reviewing options right now so if you see there's about a $3 million delta there. We're looking at opportunities that we could use those extra funds to do some important projects with. I can tell you one right now that we've actually already committed to doing is the restoration and rehabilitation of Asbury Church. So this financial position allows us to have those opportunities. And then we just literally had our town audit, and we were issued a clean report. So from an audit perspective, we're all good. Okay, the new town hall project. A lot of progress is being made. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. We want to give a huge thank you to the staff. They are working incredibly hard to pull this project together. For a town staff of 7 folks, to do a $10 million building project like this and all the disruption that happens, they have kicked it into overtime, and we would not be where we were if it weren't for them. So every single person on our town staff, take $10 out of petty cash, get yourself something nice. We also have a construction management firm, Downey and Scott, and they have been phenomenal. And again, if it weren't for them helping us with their expertise to manage the project, we would not be where it is. We also want to thank the county and Chair Randall and the board as well for giving the town a $500,000 grant to help offset some of the cost of the building. That's made a huge difference for the town. We also received, through Congresswoman Wexton's office, a $2 million federal grant towards the project as well. So that right there is going to offset about 25% of the cost of the building. And we owe them a lot to, for making that happen. We're working right now on future planning and programming, but the great thing about those federal funds and the county funds is it is ensuring that what we deliver is not only a functional governmental space, but it's a community space for people to use for their activities, their events, their meetings. We're going to have multiple conference rooms that if they're not being used, they're free and open to anybody. Any governmental agency, whether it's state, local, federal, even VDOT, they want to use our town hall for anything. It is always open and free. And then we're going to have a fantastic village green where we will be able to host a lot of our upcoming events. With the reinstitution of the Farmers Market, 4th of July, and as you guys see right here, it's the parking area. It is a pervious, what is it? Permeable. Impervious permeable, right. It is a permeable parking space, our parking area, to have really effective stormwater management. So here's the schedule. I think the 2 things to highlight here. Number 1, the original contract date for moving in was January 25th. That is probably going to slip several weeks. Some of the challenges, supply chain, critical components that are long lead. The general contractor has provided interim solutions to solve those problems so that we can still move in the February timeframe. But the key here is, everyone always asks, if it's going to be delayed, is the price going to go up? And it's not, because they are on a fixed price contract. So whatever delay they have, we do not have to pay for it. The price is the price. Okay, just a couple pictures. We're going to have a nice stone retaining wall. The stone water table's going in as they're building the building, so it's going to look really nice. Okay, completion of key projects and initiation of long-term planning. In January, we set our goals for 2022, and I'm not going to go through them one by one, but just to highlight 2 things here, I think. Number 1, updating our zoning and subdivision ordinances. That has been a really intensive project that the staff and the planning commission's been working on. Made a lot of great progress, but more is to be done. The second one I want to mention is us exploring strategies on how we can help address the attainable housing issue. And then I think the last one here too is strengthening our partnership with MBPA through a really well-written, robust memorandum of agreement so that we can support each other, because sometimes, especially with social media, stuff like that, you tend to do one thing, the other person does the same thing, and you kind of step on each other. So aligning ourselves in a more straightforward fashion and working together has come together well. Key projects. The only 2 I want to 3 I want to highlight is, as a lot of folks have seen, the new street signs are up and the new wayfinding signs. They really look great, have made a great difference. By the way, we still have some old porcelain and aluminum sign, the old beat up ones. If anybody wants one, remember, come to town office, you can get one, $25, it's yours. I bought 6. I think I just gave away my Christmas presents, but anyway, so that's been done. The other thing here is we have implemented wireless meters for all of the water metering in town, which is going to be awesome, because now we can monitor water usage automatically, see where there's leaks, see if there's an issue, and help people be able to identify, costly repairs much faster. It used to be we only read the meters, once a month?
2 months.
Well, every 2 months, you could literally have a leak for 2 months and have a $1,000 bill and nobody knew it. Now this is all real-time data through wireless metering. And then the last one here is adoption of the new R2 zoning amendments. So R2, which is basically Ridgeview, how do we make sure we preserve the housing there, which is some of our most affordable stock, and avoid the tear downs that remove some of the tear downs and rebuilds on a massive scale that remove those homes from those most in need. Okay. Long-term efforts. The next thing the council is going to be taking up is reviewing our short-term rental policy. So we have a robust short-term rental ordinance, but it needs to be looked at. We just approved a short-term special use permit about a week ago, and then when we got done with it, I started thinking about it and I drove by the house and I thought, oh my God, here's a shame. This is actually a small house which was really affordable for someone in the service industry who's a renter, and it's now going to be removed off the market and turned into a short-term rental. So it's like exacerbating the problem we're trying to address. The creation of the Middleburg Charitable Foundation. If those of you remember, we sold the health center to Old Ox Brewery. The proceeds from that and other proceeds that have been in the health center fund for a number of years, right now total about $900,000. So what the town decided to do was actually just create a charitable foundation, fund it with those funds, and then that board would make the charitable contributions to nonprofits around the community. The whole design is so it is to support those activities and organizations that are in the Middleburg community, like Seven Loaves and things like that. The board has been selected, and they're having an organizational meeting very soon. And then on the horizon, the town septic system conversion project. There's still about 4 septic systems in town, and one of the deals with Middleburg is if you want to be hooked up to water and sewer, you're required to pay for the infrastructure yourself. We were able to get several grants from the state, so we will be able to decommission these old septic systems and put those homes on sewer to protect our source water, but also make life and health a lot better for them. And again, we really owe it to the state for being able to get that grant funding. And then long-term, always water and sewer maintenance never ends. Okay, challenges and issues. As is the number one, I'd say probably one of the number one priorities we always are looking at is continuing to fight development pressures. So the council and the citizens, working with the zoning ordinance committee, planning commission, board of supervisors to continue to raise that issue and ensure that we do all we can to protect the Middleburg community, but also from a larger perspective, the Western Loudoun community, because I think we all agree it is a cherished gem. It adds so much to the value and the quality of life for all Loudoners. How do we make sure that we preserve it for the long term? It's always been a key priority for the town. I've already spoken about the looking for alternatives for workforce housing and attainable housing. Really, the loudest voices on that have been from the businesses and the schools. It's a significant acute problem for them. So we have to figure out how we address that. And then, trying to make sure we're always prepared for the next unforeseen challenge. The COVID type of challenge. Fiscally, infrastructure, sustainment, and resiliency. That's what we want to always make sure that we're prepared for whenever that next event could happen. Okay, town staff and operations. Now, Tina, why you? Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Blame your boss. Blame your boss. So we had, we were always sort of in a staffing, hiring process. We had the full staff, and then someone would take another job, and so it was always sort of playing catch up. But now we're fully staffed across the entire organization. Have been for a while, and I can't say enough about the wonderful staff we have. I mean, in the town office, they're second to none. And then AJ and his entire team in the police force are absolutely amazing. We are preparing for the retirement of AJ, so there's more on that later, but that will certainly, leave a big hole in all our hearts, but also create, an opportunity for that next person to come and join our community. And then again, we're really getting excited to move into the new town hall in Q1 of next year. Public safety. AJ and his team do, like I said, a fantastic job. I don't think you ever hear a complaint. The one great thing I will say about the police force is when they're on duty, the sale of dog treats at Safeway goes on. What's that? Yeah, exactly. Jamie and Timmy as well. So, but in AJ, I think the biggest thing to know for AJ, the real credit to him, AJ he was the most recent president of the Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police. I mean, that is a huge recognition. I mean, all the police chiefs in Virginia, AJ from Middleburg represented the entire Police Chiefs Association and also represented Middleburg. So, fantastic job. And then we've really been focusing, and AJ's been focusing on a lot of training for his team. So 100% certification for crisis intervention training. Lieutenant Jones just got his PELS? Yeah, PELS certification. So we're really proud of them for that. And then again, all the hard work they do to support our events. So like I said, it's going to be really hard to see AJ leave. And I will say there was an emergency meeting of the council early today. And we took a vote. So AJ, I'd like to inform you that your retirement has been canceled.
I can say I will accept the paychecks as long as you want to.
But no, we're gonna miss you a lot. Okay, business economic development. This is the first full year of our new social media marketing firm. I think they were a little slow getting going, but now they've really hit a great groove and are doing a fantastic job. Our followers have increased by 100% in the first year. There is a large growing awareness of Middleburg, and the great thing is, and I think this goes back to our MOA with the MBPA, we can have now a much more coherent and targeted marketing strategy with us and with MBPA. Net new businesses opening in town, there's always transition, but as Allie will tell you, she's always got a list of 4, 5, or 6 different businesses looking for a space in town. So it's good to be in high demand. And let's see here, yeah, the last thing here is, got any questions? You need to call Allie. So this is where my experience in economic development stops. Okay. Town events are one of the biggest things that help draw folks and get the awareness of Middleburg out there. We are always struggling to make sure we have the right balance between healthy, fun, safe, enjoyable events that represent Middleburg in the right way, but don't overburden the town, overburden the citizenry, overburden our staff and our infrastructure. Danny and I have been having this conversation now for probably 9 or 10 months. I think we're there. So I think we're good, and maybe you could do a little, not get rid of any of them, but maybe don't have to be so big, but, that's a ever-evolving dynamic. But, these are the key events here that the town actually runs, so we are the organizers and runners of those events, but of course we support a lot of the other local events with our other organizations. And we're actually looking now to try to see if we can take one of our existing events, or maybe there's a new one where it is really just an event focused for our town and the citizens here. I mean, that's what I love about 4th of July. That's what I love about National Night Out, right? It's really just everybody from around these parts, and we're just all enjoying each other's company. What's that? Halloween, yeah, with the kids' parade and all that, exactly. Okay, engagement around the town and what's going on in our different committees. Really got to give a lot of credit to the Sustainability Committee, formerly known as Go Green, for getting the level 2 electric charging vehicle stations up and going. That's really important. That is part of the dynamic of our economy of the future. So if we're not a part of that, we're going to be behind. And now we're also looking at how we can put level 3 charging stations at the new town hall. So the idea there is to have a couple of charging stations at the new town hall that would be level 3. So that'll be great. We've lobbied the county, or I should say the Go Green Committee lobbied the county for glass recycling due to when the curbside pickup of glass was stopped. And the county stepped up and did a great job, and they've now got a glass recycling bin at Mickey Gordon Park. So instead of having to drive to the county dump, you can go to Mickey Gordon Park to take your glass. And it's just little things like that that really make a difference to the community. Source water protection and the wellhead protection team, again, I mentioned the septic system decommissioning and conversion. And so one of the things we're really trying to do as well is how do we prioritize those projects which protect our groundwater? I mean, we get our water from the aquifers around here. So as things develop and new things are done, we always have to be sensitive to protection of the groundwater. That's actually huge. It's one of those things that's often not even understood, but it's massively important. I mean, look at Hillsborough. They were on a boil water notice for, 15 years or something. So imagine if you had to boil your water in the town every time before you drank it. And then streetscape, as a lot of folks have noticed, a lot of trees have been being replaced over the last number of years. They've just reached their size, and it's the cycle of life. And the streetscape committee has been doing a great job on doing that in a very strategic way, so it's not all at once, and we also preserve our brick sidewalks. And they were also instrumental on how we beautify and do the natural plantings and viewscape of the new town hall. Usually it's not good when you're in the news, but the last couple months, Middleburg's actually had some really great news stories. So the Mila Amelia was featured on News 4 a couple weeks ago, as we were on WTOP, which was great. We were also featured on WTOP for when we passed a resolution to take responsibility for restoring Asbury Church. And in this one, I just found this today. We were on BBC 4 in the UK. Yep. Now this was talking about, the economy dominating the political landscape, but what they really did a feature on was 7 Loaves. And how 7 Loaves provides so much food to citizens in the area, and had they seen an increase and stuff like that, and how people give and contribute to 7 Loaves. And so, there was nothing bad about the town. It was, they were talking about the sort of midterm elections, but they featured Middleburg. I mean, it was awesome. Maybe once the link, we'll put it on the town website. It's really well done. Okay, on the horizon, ensure that we always provide the ongoing services to our citizens, and we always are focusing on the things that are in the infrastructure part of our capital improvement plan to take care of. Water, sewer, sidewalks. There's a lot of focus here on some of the sidewalks on the back alleys and the back streets. Now how do we start looking at those projects? We got Main Street done, they look great. Continue to work and support the businesses. Town hall, having that thing open and accessible to all once we have the ribbon cutting. Community planning projects, this is really around some of the zoning ordinance items that we need to be focused on, like our R2 zoning in Ridgeview, the Airbnb rules, the ZOR, which is the zoning ordinance rewrite, and I know Chair Randall is looking forward to the 394,000 hours ahead of her for the public hearings for the zoning ordinance rewrite. But it's really important. This is the first full zoning ordinance rewrite since 1993. So our feedback is really important. We've got to help the county get it right. It's great in a lot of ways, but like any written document, it can always be better. And so we're focused on providing that input. If anybody wants to come to a public hearing with me or has got input or would like to go through it, let me know. And then at the end of the day, our job is to always focus on the needs of our community for every citizen, no matter who they are, where they're from, or what their background is. We owe equal representation to all. Tuesday night, we had our volunteer appreciation ceremony, which was, did we have it last year? No, we didn't have it last year. It was the first time we've had it since COVID.
Yeah, we gave them out.
And I will say, it was just awesome to have everybody there. I think we had about 50 people show up. These are all the folks in our different committees who were recognized for their service. And I think we had a total of about 60 people on all of our committees. And it's awesome. Rhonda did an amazing job of setting it up. The whole theme was baseball. With chili dogs and popcorn. And of course, the MVP of the year was Pumpkin. And she still hasn't beat the record. Bill Tanure has the record of 30 years on the HDRC. But Pumpkin is now at 25 years of service on HDRC. So she had the big win for the night. One of the strategic initiatives we had for this year was to set up and host a Rural Preservation Summit. And I am very happy to say we finally landed on a date with Salamander. It's going to be January 27th, 2023. And the idea here is to, like with all sort of summits or whatever, it's around education. It's about educating members of the community on how important preservation of our rural areas are. It's going to be at Salamander, 9 to 3. We're targeting 250 people. We really want to focus this, though, on those people. You know, I know most of you probably know Al Van Hike, right? He's the Loudoun County Conservation and Preservation Coalition Chair. I don't need to talk to Al about conservation. I don't need to talk to Chair Randall or Laura or Scott about preservation. Who we really need to talk to about preservation and quality of life and a balance in Loudoun is people who live in the East. So folks at HOAs, folks who are leaders in the more suburban area of our community, because they benefit from Western Loudoun and the rural nature of what we have. So the idea here really is, how can we focus and invite some of those leaders to hear about the importance of this area of our community, why it's so special, why it's special for them, and not just open space and beautiful countryside, because that's great, but it's also economically important. It's diversity important. So making sure we engage them with that message, because if you want leaders in the eastern side of the county to resonate, those citizens have to want that resonating too. So that's the idea. We have not finalized the agenda yet, but the focus is on threats, solutions, and call to action. Invites will be going out in the next several weeks. So it's going to be in about all November, all December, about 3 months. So we're really looking forward to it. Everybody make sure you vote. Let me ask, who's already voted? Wow, okay. They are voting, perfect. This year, voting will be at the American Legion. This year only, but it will be at the American Legion. You guys can scan that QR code and it will take you to the Legion's website and their address.
Which is already up on the screen.
Which is already up on the screen.
I thought we could only vote on Tuesday.
You can vote early at the Board of Elections in Leesburg.
Oh, well.
Yeah. You can vote early there, and there's one near Dulles, I think.
Well, this is a great opportunity to thank the veterans
Yes.
for protecting your right to vote.
So, which was where I was going. So they're the great guys at the Legion. We thank them for their service. We thank them for making the Legion Hall available for the voting. And we'll be back at the new town hall next year. And I will say Gary, who's the new post commander, is doing a great job. He's reached out to all the campaigns who would like to canvass, set them up with areas where they can put their stuff and have it be safe and all that kind of good stuff. But and this is last, just a couple of capture images of our community. As a lot of you probably know, Timmy has retired earlier this year. We wish him the best of luck. We do miss him, as do all the canines in town. And that's it. So, does anybody have any questions? 30 5 minutes.
Very good. Well done.
Any questions? Going on, Mr. Kasowitz.
Any chance of you annexing out to Goose Creek? I really like, no offense, Chairman.
Well, Scott, I would say if you want to buy all those properties,
Okay.
consolidate them into one, and touch the town, we can talk.
Fair enough.
But you can talk to Piedmont first.
Yeah, we can talk. Exactly.
Rick, what's the status of the annexations?
Yeah, so we did a download of the public feedback about a month ago, had a full house here. We had, share with people what the results of the feedback was. We gave all of the raw data and the analyzed data to both landowners and said, look, it's now on you. This is the public's sentiment and feedback. So should you wish to make an application or a request, come to the town anytime you want, bring your updated plans, but we strongly recommend you listen to what the community said and adjust your plans and thoughts and ideas accordingly. I think that's where it stands. I think Windy Hill has put together a group to explore what and how they would want to adjust it, modify it, and I think reduce it, but it's over to them now. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any plans for a tour of the new town hall? Or it's just like the post office, you just go in when you want to? I mean, is there gonna be like a professional?
So we will
grand opening, so to speak?
we will absolutely be having a ribbon cutting and a grand opening, and I think
And a tour.
Yep.
Good.
And Vivian, you get VIP standing. Give you a big red bow.
I'll be your escort.
Happy to serve.
Careful, people will talk.
Happy to serve.
Awesome. Any other questions? Okay. Well, listen, everybody, thank you so much for coming.
Will you have a written report? So, because all of this is on TV, is there a written, if I want to go back and...
So we'll make this available on the town website. The entire slide presentation I just went through.
Then you have to know how to do it.
Well, print the card.
I'm not...
What's that? You can still print it out. Yeah, Vivian, if you want a copy, look.
I like to study it.
If you want it, we'll give you a printed copy. Yep, we'll give you a printed copy.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no worries. Okay, well listen, I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Chair Randall and Laura for coming as well. I know you guys have a very busy schedule. There's something going on next week. I don't know. You're probably doing some work on, I don't know. On Tuesday? The vote, yes, yeah.
All of that.
But again, everyone, yeah. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and we'll see everybody same time, same place next year.
Thank you.